Welcome to another story made by Oracle One. In the heart of a bustling city filled with rushing feet and ceaseless chatter, there nestled a small, quiet park. It was a patch of green surrounded by towering office buildings and apartment blocks, where a single weathered bench stood beneath an ancient oak tree. The bench, worn smooth by years of use, bore faint carvings and initials from the many who had passed time there, but to most, it was unremarkable, a mere resting spot on a longer journey. Yet, for two souls destined to find each other despite the barriers of distance and circumstance, this bench was a sacred portal of connection, a place where their hearts spoke in secret notes and silent hopes. It began one crisp autumn morning. The air was tinged with the scent of damp earth and dying leaves, and the golden sunlight filtered softly through the branches. Clara, a junior architect juggling her dreams and the demands of a relentless job, had found a moment of rare quiet to breathe. She had recently moved to the city, drawn by the promise of new beginnings, but underneath her composed facade lay a reservoir of loneliness. The relationships she'd known before had fallen away like leaves in the wind, and making new ones felt as daunting as scaling skyscrapers without a harness. Clara sat on the bench and noticed something out of place, a small envelope stuck beneath the wooden slat of the bench. Curious, she slid her fingers over the edges and pulled it free. The paper was simple, cream-colored, folded neatly, and had no return address. Inside was a note written in elegant, looping handwriting. "Dear stranger, if you are reading this, know you are not alone. Sometimes life's weight is too heavy to carry silently. This bench is a safe place. If you leave a note, I promise to read it with care, and to leave one for you in return. Yours, a friend." Clara's heart fluttered. A friend? A connection out of nowhere? She smiled, a genuine smile that had been rare lately. On an impulse, she reached for a pen in her bag, pulled out a scrap of paper, and wrote, "To the friend I haven't met, thank you. This city can be so large and lonely, but now this bench feels like a quiet sanctuary. I'm Clara." Folding the note carefully, she slipped it back under the bench slat. Then she looked around, half expecting to see who might have left the note, but there was only the rustling of leaves and distant footsteps. Days passed. Clara's routine continued, though her visits to the park became a fixed ritual, a place to pause amid the chaos. Each time, she found a note waiting or left a new one, passages of her thoughts, hopes, and fears shared anonymously in a gentle exchange. One chilly morning, she arrived to find an envelope with neat, precise handwriting, different from the first yet equally elegant. She unfolded the note inside. "Dear Clara, your words reached me more than you know. I am David. Like you, I arrived here seeking a pause in the storm. It has been years since I felt comfortable expressing my true self. This bench, this exchange, it feels like a lifeline. Tell me, what dreams do you chase beneath the city's gray skies?" Clara's breath caught. David was the name signed at the bottom. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the connection settle in. She replied with honesty, her hopes of one day designing buildings that felt alive rather than cages, her yearning for meaningful companionship, the small joys and frustrations that shaped her days. Slowly, over weeks and months, the bench blossomed into a sacred space between Clara and David. Neither knew what the other looked like, where exactly they lived, or their stories in full, but the bench spoke of something more profound than proximity. It spoke of vulnerability, trust, and unspoken understanding. David, a writer burdened with a past he could never fully escape, found in Clara's notes courage to confront his shadows. She painted with words the architecture of hope, and he responded with poems and reflections about light and darkness, about hidden desires. Once, Clara asked David what made the bench special beyond the notes. "To me," he wrote, "the bench is a symbol of rest in a world that never stops. It is the place where two strangers create a small universe, pieced together by ink and paper. It is where hope lives quietly between the lines. One afternoon in early spring, Clara sat beneath the oak, a note resting gently on her palm. The world was coming back to life. The crocuses blooming, the sky a clear blue. Her note bore a question. David, do you think we'll ever meet? Or is this our story's perfect form, two people writing across silence and space? The reply waited for her as she arrived the next day. I believe stories find their own shape, Clara. Whether our paths will cross physically, I cannot say. But the wings this bench has given us are real, and that is enough courage for now. The bench witnessed seasons change and their messages deepen. Their words became confidences, shared griefs, and laughter frozen in ink. The world around them ebbed and swelled, shifting with the flow of life, but this sacred space remained, steadfast and intimate. For David, writing was a quiet rebellion against the solitude that life had imposed upon him. For Clara, each note was a brick laid in the bridge to healing her fractured spirit. They discovered in each other a mirror reflecting truths they had hidden even from themselves. One summer evening, the air heavy with jasmine, Clara arrived to find a note different from the rest. The paper was pale blue, and the words were written with urgency. Clara, I must tell you something. Tomorrow I am moving away, far from this city, to chase a dream that cannot wait. I'm scared to end this without knowing if I will ever see you. If you want, come to the bench tomorrow at sunset. No promises, just a chance. Two souls who met here, beneath these leaves. Clara's fingers trembled as she read and reread the note, heart pounding with hope and fear alike. Inside, a swirl of emotions danced. What if this was the moment their silent story became something real, or what if it ended in a bitter goodbye? The next evening, Clara arrived in the park just as the sun was dipping low, casting golden light through the oak's spreading branches. The bench was empty, but she sat, cradling her own note for David. Minutes stretched like hours. Finally, footsteps. A figure approached, hesitant, carrying a small satchel. It was a man, his hair touched with silver despite his youth, eyes searching. They looked toward the bench, then met her gaze. Clara? His voice was soft, a mixture of disbelief and desire. She nodded, words tangled in her throat. David. The bench between them transformed from a line on the ground to a bridge across space and time. They sat, eyes locked, neither needing to speak the volumes their notes had already said. I wasn't sure you would come, David admitted. I wasn't sure either, Clara whispered. But I had to know. The moment was fragile, perfect. They laughed softly at the awkwardness mingled with relief, realizing that this meeting was not an end but a new beginning. Over tea spilled with tentative smiles, they spoke about the notes, the unspoken feelings, the lives they had pieced together with ink. The bench had become a sacred altar where strangers had bared their souls, and now they sat as two people blessed with the courage such exchanges had fostered. David's move never happened. Once their worlds collided face to face, the future found new shapes. Clara showed him the buildings she dreamed of designing, and David read her poems aloud beneath the stars. The sacred bench remained their sacred place, no longer just a space of distance but of presence, where love bloomed slowly, patiently, witnessed by the ancient oak and the whispers of leaves. Years later, the bench would still stand there, engraved with a new set of initials. Clara and David, joined not only by written words but the heartbeat of real love, would come back often. And in their story was a message that sometimes hope is found not in grand gestures or sudden meetings but in the quiet persistence of two hearts daring to connect across silence and time. For more stories, like and subscribe.